What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Legitical Response. We cover political news, and we talk a lot about the Democrats. And something you wouldn't normally think by, looking at the political landscape these days, you would think that Democrats are the antithesis of racism. But you would be wrong, my friend. You would be wrong. That's why you see, like the other day, you had 160,000 white women checking their white privilege, right? That was one of the, I watched a clip of that, right? 160,000 on a Zoom call, right? All these, they were voting for Kamala Harris. They were all in there and they were checking their white privilege. That is one of the most, listening to it, it's insane. It's one of the most, racist things I've ever heard, for these people to come in there and say, we need to check our white privilege, assuming that they have some sort of privilege because they're white. What? You think you're better than everybody else because you're white? You are insane. No, we are on equal footing. I don't care what anybody says. These days, there is no significant differences in race, like as far as going out there and getting a job, living your life, buying a house, doing all this other stuff. I'm sorry. That may have been the case in the past, but it's no longer the case anymore. I'm sorry. You can go screw yourself if you believe otherwise. There have been some significant racial issues in this country. Yes, I totally agree with you on that one, but I do believe we have just about solved all those issues. We still have racists in this country, as a matter of fact, and a lot of those people are the same ones that are constantly telling you to not be a racist. These people get out there and check your white privilege. For the idea that this day and age, that white people have some sort of privilege over anybody else is absurd. And by the way, I'm open to arguments on this one. If you have any arguments, let me know down in the comments section, because I would love to hear them from you. But it's just crazy to hear these people talk. To me, that is arrogance. That is racism. To think that you are better, that you have more privilege than a black person, a Latino person, or any other race in this country. To think you have some sort of advantage because of your skin color? That to me is racism incarnate. That is the antithesis of not being racist, as a matter of fact. But yeah, that whole Zoom call was just insane. It was sickening to me to hear these people act like they are better, that they need to check their privilege. It's like, come on, get off of yourself. But let's get into this story right quick, because, we're talking about racism a little bit. Watch. J.D. Vance says some Trump supporters are definitely racist. Once again, even with the headline, they're lying. They're just outright lying. I've got the receipts. Yes, I brought the receipts to back this up. Oh, and they try to kowtow this one. It's just crazy. Let's get into it. Yet another, as if there's a bunch of these. Yet another video of Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance has resurfaced, and unfortunately for him, he explicitly said in it that racism helped elect Donald Trump president. That, once again, with the headline and the first paragraph, is outright lies. He didn't say anything about that. Since I'm already debunked 2 lies, let's just go ahead and play the video right quick.
And where do you think race played into all this? Because I think the sort of myth is that, all these Trump supporters are vehement racists and anti-immigrant. And so where do you think it played?
Well, race definitely played a role in the 2016 election. I think that race will always play a role in our country. It's just sort of a constant fact of American life. And definitely some people who voted for Trump were racists, and they voted for him for racist reasons. I always resist the idea that the real thing driving most Trump voters was racial anxiety or racial animus, partially because I didn't see it, right? I mean, the thing that really motivated people to vote for Trump, first in the primary and then in the general election, was 3 words: jobs, 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 right? And it's very easy to get back to this point about information bubbles. It's very easy for somebody like me to watch the sources of news that I watch and to only see the really offensive stuff that Trump did replayed over and over again. But if you go to one of his rallies, it's maybe 5% him being really outrageous and offensive, and 95% him talking about, here are all the things that are wrong in your community, here's why they're wrong, and I'm going to bring back jobs. That was the core thesis of Trump's entire argument. And so it's just, it strikes me as a little bizarre to chalk it up to sort of racial animus because, one, the country is less racist now than it was 15 years ago, and we weren't electing Donald Trump 15 years ago. And two, that wasn't the core part of his message, and that wasn't what a lot of his voters were really connecting with. And the final point that I'll make on this is that the political dialogue in 2016 and 2015 was obviously hyper-racialized, right? There was all these alt-right people, and I'm in an interracial marriage, and I got a lot of stuff directed at me and my wife on online message boards and Twitter and so forth. So I definitely buy that this was a racialized discourse, unlike any that we've had in a really long time. But I don't blame Trump's voters for that. The people that I blame for that are actually typically well-educated coastal elitists, people like Richard Spencer and the alt-right. It's telling that the alt-right is driven by primarily very well-educated, relatively smart, relatively stable people. It's not driven by people in the Rust Belt who go on 4chan and talk about Michelle Obama in these really nasty ways, right? It's 2,500, I mean, whatever the number of people is, I've heard estimates up to like 100,000, but these are people who are really well educated and are cognitive elites in their own weird way.
Right, like Steve Bannon.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, so I guess the corporate press thought we weren't going to watch that clip or something. We were just going to take their word for it and say, oh, yeah, I guess J.D. Vance did say that they were. No, he's basically saying that, hang on, race didn't really play a role at all. Sure. He is quoting facts, as a matter of fact. We have racists in this country. Yeah, there's white racists, there's black racists, there's Latino racists, there's Mexican racists, there's Chinese racists, as a matter of fact. What's your point here? They're trying to tear down Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, trying to plant them as racists when it's the opposite, as a matter of fact. They fight against the racism. Sure, did racists vote for Donald Trump? Sure, but I can almost guarantee you that a lot more racists voted for Joe Biden than voted for Donald Trump. I can almost guarantee you that. 9 million people switched from voting for Obama to voting for Donald Trump in 2016. What does that tell you? Yeah, you go to one of these Trump rallies and you've seen the videos. It's anecdotal, sure. But how do you get statistics out of racism, right? Like, you go to one of these Trump rallies, you've seen the videos, a black guy shows up, and it's nothing but love, right? I saw a video the other day of a guy, he had a Biden shirt and a Trump shirt, and he put on his Trump shirt and went to a Biden rally and was getting spit on, was kicked out. Essentially, people throwing stuff at him, yelling and screaming, people getting in his face. Then he takes that shirt off, puts his Biden shirt on, and goes to a Trump rally, and guess what? They were trying to convince him to switch to their side. They're like, hey, come over here. Hey, you know, Biden did this. Biden did that. Hey, you might not want to, Biden's destroying the country. Blah, 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 blah. But they were very nice to him. That's the difference between Trump supporters and Democrats. As a matter of fact, you see the viral videos constantly. And, the left and the corporate press, they've got this narrative machine I talk about all the freaking time. And they love to put this narrative out there. But this day and age, we have social media. We can debunk these narratives. And we do constantly. But that doesn't stop these people. Like with this article. I mean, did they really think that we wasn't going to watch that video? It's just the complete opposite of what they're saying, J.D. Vance said. He's saying, no, race played a little, hardly any role. He's in a interracial marriage himself. Like, what? Why are you trying to I mean, the headline literally said, Vance says Trump supporters are definitely racist. When did he say that in that video? He didn't. Let's read that first paragraph again after hearing the video. Yet another video of Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance has resurfaced, and unfortunately for him, he explicitly said in it that racism helped elect Donald Trump president. He never explicitly said that whatsoever. He explicitly said race played hardly any role in that. But these people are just insane. Mother Jones reports that in February 2017, Vance gave a talk at the University of Chicago's Institute of Politics as part of a series called America in the Trump Era after his book Hillbilly Elegy became a bestseller. Discussing the 2016 presidential election, journalist Alex Kotlowitz asked Vance, where do you think race played into all this? Because I think the sort of myth is that all of these Trump supporters are vehemently racist and anti-immigrant. And so, where do you think it played? Vance gave an answer that seems surprising today. Why? Y'all heard the answer. Why is that surprising? That, yeah, sure, it played somewhat of a role, but not really. It was more about the jobs because that was Trump's main thing. Bringing back manufacturing, making America great again, right? Loving of everybody, not caring who you, right? Like, he downplayed the racism, but they're trying to say he upplayed the racism, saying, oh yeah, racist, definitely. Of course, that's a statement of fact. That doesn't mean a damn thing. Once again, like I said, it is a statement of fact to say that racists voted for Barack Obama. As a matter of fact, it is guaranteed. Racists voted for Trump too. Racists voted for Hillary Clinton. As a matter of fact, like, what's your point here, right? They're trying to say that Trump and J.D. Vance are vehemently racists, right? Trying to make Democrats, right? Like, Democrats already believe this. Why are you trying to push this? Like, are you trying to convince somebody on the other side that Trump is racist? Like, Trump supporters? Really? They know you're full of crap, corporate press. They're not going to buy into your BS. They've been broken free from the matrix. They don't believe in your BS anymore. Race definitely played a role in the 2016 election. I think race will always play a role in our country. It's just sort of a constant fact of American life. And definitely some people who voted for Trump were racist. And they voted for him for racist reasons, Vance responded. Yeah, I just don't get what point they're trying to make here. It's beyond my ability to comprehend. They're trying to say he's racist, but like, what? Vance couched his answer by saying he didn't think racism was the main motivator for Trump voters, but jobs were. But that's because that's the truth. But he did say that the 2016 election was hyper-racialized, and he blamed conservative extremists. No, he blamed the alt-right. The people that I blame for that are actually typically well-educated. Hey, yeah, we already heard all this. We already heard all this, right? Vance replied, taking a shot at the Republican strategist who is now serving a prison sentence for contempt of Congress, talking about Steve Bannon. Yeah, as a matter of fact, he is. And that's another point of contention that we could talk about, because the rest of this article is just repeating quotes and lying about J.D. Vance. But let's talk about Steve Bannon there for a second. Yeah, so sure, he might be a racist. Who cares? There's a lot of racists in this country. There's a lot of black people that are racist against white people. We're not out there talking about them, right? We never talk about that kind of racism, do we? But it's racism regardless, and all racism needs to stop. All of it needs to stop. But it's never going to, unfortunately. I think for at least a very, very long time, because I am of the opinion that Kamala Harris, yeah, get this, you might have a good laugh at this, that Kamala Harris is the future of humanity. Completely mixed race, right? Like she's part black, she's part white, she's part Indian, she's part Asian. Yeah, that's what the future of humans are. If we live long enough, a couple of thousand years from now, I think that most people are going to be mixed race. As a matter of fact, you could say that these days. They're kind of mixed. There's a lot of mixed people out there. So that would directly mean that you would have to get rid of racism at one point, so racism will eventually go away. But people are always going to be racist while we do have different races. It doesn't make any sense to me why people are racist. I've never understood that whatsoever. I was born in an era where you're not racist against people. You don't use certain words, right? Because they're racist tropes from the past. And we want to, not forget about our past, but we want to learn about it in such a way that we view the past, slavery, racial segregation, and all that garbage as an evil that we got rid of. But people these days, especially Democrats, and this is why I call them racist, they want to keep race at the forefront of everybody's mind. They want to keep racial tensions, at high levels for some reason. I don't know why. But why not calm racial tensions down? We don't need to be racist against each other. We're all humans. We all have to live on the same freaking planet. And we can definitely all get along. Famous words, right? But yeah, speaking of that, I got off topic. Let's talk about Steve Bannon for a second and contempt of Congress charges and the two-tier justice system. Here we go with some, is it whataboutism? Or is it just blatant hypocrisy? That's something I've been struggling with over the past week. I've been thinking about a lot when I'm off working by myself or, not listening to a podcast or something like that. I think about certain stuff, certain issues like, is it really just what about this and what about that? Or is it, pointing out hypocrisy? I think those lines kind of blur a lot because you could say Steve Bannon is serving prison time right now for the same exact thing that Merrick Garland did. But people say, oh, well, that's whataboutism to say that. Why isn't Merrick Garland serving time right now? Why isn't he going to court at least? Why hasn't he been arrested for doing the exact same freaking thing? That's not whataboutery. I'm sorry. It's just not. It's the blatant two-tier justice system we have in this country. It's hypocrisy at its best. It's the DOJ saying, no, we decided we're not going to charge him because he's a cabinet member. Well, guess what? Steve Bannon was a trade advisor. So yeah, he was a cabinet member too. But the Democrats didn't give a damn about that. No, it's blatant hypocrisy. It's not whataboutery. It's blatant hypocrisy. Outright. Peter Navarro is the same way. Same thing. He was an advisor to Trump as well. And he just got through serving 4 months in prison for contempt of Congress over the same BS. And as a matter of fact, if you want to really dig deep into this, Merrick Garland's case is much worse. It's a little bit worse. I'll say, okay, I'll be fair. It's a little bit worse than what Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro were charged, convicted, and served time for. Right? Because the January 6th committee is the committee that issued the subpoenas for Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon. And come to find out, the January 6th committee wasn't even supposed to have subpoena power. It wasn't an official committee. So what they were supposed to do is officially go through the Judiciary Committee or the Oversight Committee. One of the two to get that subpoena. But did they do that? No. As a matter of fact, they didn't do that. A lot of congressmen brought up the fact that, hey, why are we even entertaining these subpoenas at all on these people? Because that wasn't official. But Democrats, once again, they don't care. The DOJ doesn't care. They're not going to charge and convict their top prosecutor. That means, literally, that some people are above the law. Yeah, this is coming from the party of democracy and the ones who yelled and screamed at the Trump prosecutions that nobody is above the law, y'all. Nobody. Oh, except for this person and this person. And they're yelling and screaming about presidential immunity. Yeah, as a matter of fact, some people are above the law. To be factual, some people are above the law. And let's just get that out of the way. But I think I've rambled on for long enough. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this racism down in the comments section. Yeah. Crazy, right? Like, I just don't get the racism coming from these people. And they're trying to make it look like J.D. Vance and Donald Trump as the racists. Constantly being called racists. For no reason. Right? Like, I would beg these people, prove it. Prove Trump's a racist. Prove J.D. Vance is a racist. And then I'll get right there alongside of you, yelling and screaming about the racism. But I don't think you can do that. I highly doubt you can prove Trump's a racist. But, let me know down in the comments. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.